This minor character is one I found most interesting due to his association with one of my favorite factions and locations in Warcraft lore. And also, he is in one of my favorite Warcraft novels and not so subtly foreshadows the modern pre-Cataclysm membership of the Alliance. As you can guess from the background footage, the location is Auchindoun, and the faction that I'm referring to are the Auchenai, the Draenei Keepers of the Dead. So yes, the character that I want to talk about is one of the Auchenai, specifically one from our timeline, not the Warlords of Draenor timeline. His name was Nemuran, and he was one of the Keepers of the Dead shortly before the destruction of Draenor. Nemuran only appears in one chapter of the Beyond the Dark Portal novel. Well, if you want to be technical, one chapter plus half a sentence in another chapter. To provide a bit of context, it's the time the Alliance expedition invaded Draenor in a bid to stop Ner'zhul from opening portals to other worlds and invading them with his horde. At the time, Ner'zhul and a few members of his retinue were in retreat from Hellfire's Citadel to the Black Temple and were pursued by the Alliance. They then decided, after managing to take Kurja and Wildhammer hostage, to take refuge in Auchindoun, a more defensible position. As a small side note, I love the almost superstitious way the orcs treat Auchindoun at this point of time. They either see it as a visible and shameful reminder of how Gul'dan deceived their people, or rightfully think it's haunted based on the older legends before the War of the Draenei. And this idea is also repeated later on in the Illidan novel, where Illidan leads a group of fell orcs into Auchindoun, and they're terrified because they think it's haunted. Anyway, as the orcs take refuge in the ruins of Auchindoun, a group of the Alliance expedition, led by the Nath Trollbane and guided by the Arakoa Grizzix, come and make their way after them. And, as they open the door of one of the tunnels, the Alliance were met by Nemuran. After conversing for a bit, Nemuran used his priest magic to instantly learn the humans' language. The Draenei agreed to help guide the Alliance and assist them in their fight against the orcs. Now, during these conversations, which, as I said, last only for a chapter, so it's not exactly a lot of time to flesh out a character, Nemuran doesn't quite act like the stereotypical Draenei, as in unequivocally kind, honorable, and open. Instead, he is suspicious of the Alliance, especially since they were guided by Grizzix, a known thief to the Auchenai. Side note, we later learn in Chronicle that Grizzix was even a member of the Sephek. And even later, when he comes to respect and trust the Nath Trollbane, he never reveals too much information. Namely, he is the only living Draenei the Alliance expedition encounter. The other Auchenai are hidden, and Nemuran intentionally does not divulge their location. As to Nemuran himself, we know little of his personal history. While he is definitely not described as old, one of his lines, quote, "Many places have I traveled," definitely implies that he has seen many worlds as the Draenei fled across the universe. We also know that he has been an Auchenai for a fairly long time. At the very least, he was part of the Auchenai before the orcs were against the Draenei and before the Draenei refugees from Shatrath City fled to Auchindoun. As to his personality, while he is still pious and can be kind, it's obvious that he was hardened by the orcs' war against the Draenei. Regarding his fighting abilities though, it's stated during the fight alongside the Nath Trollbane and the Alliance against the orcs that he did not directly attack the orcs, though obviously from his lines we know that he dislikes them. Rather, interestingly enough, he sort of projected a subtle aura which made all the surrounding orcs fight more poorly. Nemuran, I think, also serves as a bit of a bridge between the more stereotypical Draenei, the honorable and pious ones, and the mad Auchenai we see in Burning Crusade. He's definitely not in the latter category yet. He still wields the light, not shadow magic, and he's friendly, albeit suspicious, to the Alliance. There is, however, one more subtle clue that points to the change the Auchenai were undergoing at the time. Namely, at one point Nemuran offers to aid the Alliance against the Horde in Auchindoun by summoning an army of Draenei ghosts, many of them veterans of the war against the orcs. Now, originally, as we see in Warlords of Draenor, the Auchenai rarely interacted with the spirits of the dead. In fact, they had to drink a special potion to do so, and it was, obviously, something they would do only reverently. Nemuron, however, as Danaf Trobe notices, was eager, even ecstatic, to summon the Draenei ghosts, only warning that some people might find it unsettling. Again, to me this seems like only a few steps removed from how the corrupted Auchenai of Burning Crusade acted towards the Draenei ghosts, actively enslaving them with shadow magic. Still, even this a little too eager behavior seems to be apparently acceptable among the Draenei, since the ghosts, led by the paladin Bolestran the Blinding Light, willingly assist the Alliance after finding the Naf's cause to be worthy. Slightly unrelated, but we also get a subtle hint on the different attitude the Auchenai Death Priests have, when compared to typical priests, when it comes to life and death. Namely, when the Alliance manages to rescue Kurdran Wildhammer, who was heavily injured, Nemuron offers to heal him, but also says that he can instead ease his passing. Obviously, the Naf insists that Nemuron heal him, and Kurdran manages to survive the ordeal. Towards the end of the chapter, he appears in, as the Alliance have just defeated the Orcs and the Ghost Draenei army have returned to their rest. Nemuron says one of my favorite short speeches in all of Warcraft lore. The Naf Trobain invites him to join them in their campaign against the Horde, and even to come with them to Azeroth if he'd like. Nemuron then replies, quote, "Truly, your world must be a wondrous place to have produced such a people, and I appreciate your offer. But no, my place is here. Our dead remain in this world, honorably laid to rest in Auchendoun, or scattered into the forest, even paving the path the Orcs misnamed the Path of Glory. Here they lie, in Draenor, and here I stay to tend them. The Holy Light has placed us here for a reason, and someday it will triumph over all. Until then, I rejoice in the knowledge that I have aided you, and that you and your people carry the light as well. Go forth and let your courage and strength drive the Orcs before you like chaff before the strong wind. And who knows, perhaps one day our peoples will indeed battle such evils side by side." End quote. So, this was the story of Nemuron. I think it's fairly obvious why I stated that his participation in the story foreshadows the future alliance, especially given this speech. Unfortunately, Nemuron never appears again in the lore. He was apparently slated to appear, probably as his alternate version, in Warlords of Draenor, and there was even an NPC that was made for him. That's where I got his look for this video, incidentally. But that NPC never made it out of the beta. Side note though, the NPC's look is not entirely accurate to his Beyond the Dark Portal description, since he lacks face tentacles and a short beard. Regardless, for me personally, the Battle of Auchendoun, which I've barely even described in this video, is one of my favorite events in Warcraft lore, and Nemuron's role, as well as this final speech, definitely helped solidify it. Thank you all for watching and listening to me, and I shall see you all later. Farewell.